beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Hello and welcome. You are listening to A Beautiful Legacy. I'm your host, Tiago Pinto, and this is your short moment to look at the objects, systems, and ideas that shape the way we live. In this new chapter of the show, we begin with the work. Not the biography first, not the famous name first, but the thing itself, the object, the everyday design, the piece of material culture that becomes so common, so intimate, so present, that we almost forget it had to be invented. Today, we look at one very special object. There are objects we recognize, and there are objects we trust. The difference is not aesthetic, it is not even emotional, it is operational. Because trust is not given to how something looks, it is given to how something behaves under pressure. The Omega Speedmaster was not designed to be iconic, it was designed to be precise. But at a certain moment in history, precision stopped being a feature and it became a condition for survival. This is the story of how a watch left the wrist, entered the space, and redefined what reliability means.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
In the early 1960s, timekeeping was not a solved problem. Not in the way we understand it today. There were no GPS, no digital synchronization, no atomic time in your pocket. Everything depended on mechanical systems, springs, gears, tolerance. And when the space race began, those systems were pushed beyond anything they had been designed for. Extreme temperature shifts, violent acceleration, zero gravity, and vacuum. Under these conditions, most watches failed. They fogged, they stopped, they broke, simply. But space travel introduced a new requirement. Time was no longer about measurement, it was about coordination. Burn sequences, re-entry windows, oxygen calculations. If time failed, the mission failed. And if the mission failed, people died. The Omega Speedmaster was not originally built for space. It was a racing chronograph, designed for drivers, for lap timing, for precision on the track. But its construction carried a set of decisions that would prove critical. A manual wind movement, no reliance on automatic rotors that could fail in zero gravity. A hazellite crystal, not sapphire, because when it breaks, it does not shatter into dangerous fragments. Large pushers, operable with gloves. A clear, legible dial designed to read instantly under stress. None of these decisions were made for astronauts. They were made for reliability. And that is what made the difference. Because when NASA began testing watches for space missions, they were not looking for luxury. They were looking for resilience. The Speedmaster survived. In fact, it was the only one to survive. It survived extreme heat, extreme cold, shocks, decompression, vibration. Where others failed, it continued. And without ceremony, it was selected. Claude Baillod is not a widely recognized name. And that is precisely the point, because the systems we trust the most are often shaped by people who are not designing for recognition. They are designing for outcome. Working within Omega, Baillod operated in a culture where precision was not a feature, it was a discipline, a way of thinking that prioritized robustness over novelty, clarity over expression, function over narrative. There is no single gesture you can point to, no signature move. What exists instead is a consistency of decisions, a refusal to introduce fragility, a preference for solutions that continue to work when conditions deteriorate. This is not a mindset of a designer chasing visibility. It is the mindset of someone designing for environments where failure is not an option. And that mindset is what made the Speedmaster possible. When the Apollo 11 moon landing took place, the Speedmaster was there, not as a symbol, as a tool, strapped over a spacesuit, exposed to vacuum, subjected to temperature swings that would destroy most materials. And it worked. But its most important moment came later, during Apollo 13 mission. An explosion crippled the spacecraft. Systems failed, power was limited. The crew needed to perform a precise engine burn, to re-enter Earth's atmosphere safely. Too short, they would drift into space. Too long, they would burn up. There was no room for error, and there were no digital systems to rely on. So they used the Speedmaster. They timed the burn manually, seconds became survival, and the watch held. After that, the Speedmaster was no longer just a product. It became a reference point, not for style, for reliability under extreme conditions. It redefined what a tool watch should be: legible without effort, operable under constraint, resistant to failure, consistent over time. These principles extended beyond space, into aviation, into diving, into industrial environments, and eventually into everyday life. Because once an object proves itself at the edge, it changes expectations at the center. We began to expect more from the things we wear, not just that they function, but that they continue to function when everything else breaks.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
The world we inherited from the Omega Speedmaster. A world where precision is invisible, where time is synchronized automatically, where devices correct themselves. But this did not come from software first. It came from mechanical discipline, from objects that had to work without correction. The Speedmaster established the principle: reliability is not added later. It is designed from the beginning. And once proven, it becomes the standard. Today, when we trust a system, whether it is the navigation app, a payment system, or a piece of equipment, we are trusting something that has inherited that logic, the expectation that it will not fail when it matters the most.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Claude Baillod did not design a symbol. He contributed to a system where precision became non-negotiable. where time was not decorative, it was decisive. The Omega Speedmaster did not become iconic because it went to the moon. It became iconic because it worked when it had to. And in doing so, it shifted our understanding of what objects are responsible for, not just to perform, but to endure, not just to measure, but to matter. And that, truly, is a beautiful legacy. You've been listening to A Beautiful Legacy. From now on, we explore the objects that shaped behavior, from watches to chairs, from symbols to systems. In the coming episodes, we will continue to look at the decisions that turned simple objects into lasting infrastructure. If this episode changed how you see things, if this episode changed how you see the things you use every day, follow the show and join me every week. Until then, keep noticing the beauty people leave behind.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were. In the shape of a chair, in the light on a wall, someone's dream still stands tall. But